6, a helping hand with your land.
Neil from Essex here to answer a viewer question. If you have a question that I can answer or an application that I can make a recommendation for a piece of equipment, shoot a quick video, upload it, and email it to youtube@messiks.com, and I'll do my best to answer it for you.
So Neil, I have 2 questions here. Why does my bucket keep settling back? It was parked flat on the ground about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And I have another question about the hydrostatic transmission. If you are in medium range, can you still do loader work with it, or is it have to be in low range? I've heard that you can burn up the hydrostat by having it in medium range and you do loader work. I just want to know if that's true or false or in between. I know that you should never do it in high range, but medium range, I'd like to know about it. And low range, I know it's loader, mower, highway, as you pointed out in the past. We don't have a mower for this tractor. We have a snow blower. We do snow work and dirt work with this tractor occasionally. I just need to know, well, I don't need to know, I just like to know. So if you can weigh in on this, please do. And thanks for the answer.
So I've got a 2-part answer today. One dealing with the sponginess in the front loader in the bucket, and another dealing with the transmission. So we're going to start on the front loader bucket. You will notice when you look even in our parking lots that all kinds of equipment, you're going to see buckets, couplers, and things where hydraulic cylinders are drifting down as machines are parked out in parking lots. That's for a number of different reasons. These hydraulic systems, when they're closed off, are not completely internally sealed off. There's a certain amount of internal leakage that will happen through a valve or even internally between the front and the back side of a hydraulic cylinder that will cause those things to move. And that's not necessarily an indication of a problem when the machine is parked. Now, if you're out operating a piece of equipment and you notice, say, your loader dropping down to the ground while you're just out driving around, that is the indicator of some kind of hydraulic problem where you have a real leak. But movement of an attachment, a loader, a backhoe, outriggers, whatever, over a period of several hours or a day is not unusual at all. There's also a certain amount of sponginess that happens in these hydraulic systems when the machine is shut off, and that's because of the style of loader valve that's used. These valves are called regenerative valves, and when there's not hydraulic pressure on them, you'll get some of this. You notice here how I can move this bucket and loader frame just by rocking it back and forth. It's because of how those valves are internally plumbed and designed. It is not a problem. It will happen over time, and it is not something you need to be concerned about. Next, on a range selector. So you'll notice on the left-hand side of most tractors, you're going to have a selection for the operating range of the rear gearbox. And some small tractors, it's just a low and a high, and bigger machines like this LX series, it's a low, medium, high. I often will go through and describe those as loader, mower, and highway, kind of for what their intended uses are. When you go and you push a tractor into a pile of dirt, when you're in low range, it's going to give you more push. You're going to be able to work the tractors into that pile, get the bucket curled back and filled a lot more effectively with a lot more power than if you were in a higher operating range. So just as simple technique, it is better to be in a lower range when you're doing that kind of work. It does not, however, necessarily mean that you're going to do some kind of damage to your machine if you happen to creep into a pile occasionally in a higher range. In fact, a lot of times I do that. I'll run my tractor in medium a lot of times because I want that speed when I come back out of the pile in order to transport to another place, and I don't want to constantly be shifting my range selector back and forth. So I accept a little bit less push going into that pile for the greater transport speed when I'm driving around. Mechanically, what's happening when you do that? If you're in a higher range and you go into that pile and you push down on your hydrostatic pedal, you can kind of hear the transmission whine and start to fight. Eventually that transmission will push up into what's called a hydraulic relief. It's going to go over a relief valve. It's in the back end of the transmission. And a lot of these machines, you can feel that a little bit. Your hydrostatic pedal will have some resistance, and all of a sudden you'll feel it kind of go spongy on you, and you can feel that feedback from the machine. When that's happening, it's simply letting some of that hydraulic oil through the relief valve. Now, a little bit of that does no harm whatsoever. In fact, there's relief valves all over your tractor that are operating in all kinds of different, very normal circumstances. However, if you did that very continuously for a very extended period of time, you do potentially start to create some excess heat in your hydraulic oil that wouldn't need to be there. Now, that's not going to do any kind of damage to the machine, even over a medium term. But if you made a habit of doing it continuously, I could see that it's bad for your tractor eventually. But this is not something that you need to like super stress out about getting exactly right, and every time you go into that pile of dirt, making sure to drop to low range. You don't have to be that anal about it, but do know you certainly shouldn't be trying to do loader work in high range all the time. It's not good for your machine, and it's not going to be productive for you either. If you're working productively, odds are you're doing this right, and it's just not going to be an issue. So get out, enjoy your tractor, put that machine to work. Mechanically, just think about what you're doing. These kinds of things, thinking through the machine and what is happening mechanically when you're using it, is going to help make you a better operator of that piece of equipment and make you a lot more productive in the jobs that you're doing. So in closing, if you have any parts needs for machines you've already got, you have service work that needs to be done, or you're shopping for a piece of equipment, give us a call at Messick's. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at messick's.com.